guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're making a video that is a little bit different from this channel, but something that a lot of people have been asking me, and it's how do you get sponsored, or how do you get your build sponsored by companies and get sponsored parts for your car? In this video, I'm gonna give you guys, whether you own a WRX or any other car, every piece of information that you need to know about how to get sponsored, how to get parts discounted, how to get them for free, basically how to get your car build sponsored. And just so you guys can understand where I'm coming from, I've both been sponsored before I was on social media. I was sponsored as somebody on social media. I'm still sponsored by some companies, and I now own my own performance parts company and I sponsor other people. So if you guys want to get probably the most up-to-date and the most informational how to use it, how does this all work and how do you get sponsored, I'm probably the person to talk to and tell you, and that's why I'm making the video. So I wanted to go through and talk about absolutely everything you can do from a personal standpoint with your car to really understand how this whole industry works so that you can be best prepared to position yourself in a place to get your build sponsored. So let's start with understanding the metrics of sponsorship for a company, because I think that's the most important part. Most people think companies sponsor people just to be, positive in the environment. Well, that is true and it's great marketing. They need a return on their investment when they're marketing. Sponsorships are not just free giveaways. The companies need to return money on the investment that they're giving you if they're giving you a discounted part or the part for free. So what you need to do is provide value to the company. Now, unfortunately, testing parts and products aren't really something that you're going to be able to do it. Every once in a while, a company, if you know the person, if there's some trust, they might let you test a part, but in reality, if people are telling you that they're testing parts for companies, they're either not doing it or they have some type of personal relationship, because companies' insurance don't really allow them to test products that aren't mainstream available. So the first thing you need to do is understand, how do you provide value to a company, and how does that specific part being installed on your car provide value to them long term? Now, all of it kind of boils down to the same thing, is marketing. It's how can you showcase that part to the most amount of people to create the most amount of conversions or purchases for that company, whether it's of that part specifically or just brand awareness of whatever part that is. For this video, we're going to use Perrin as an example. It's a company that I really do enjoy. I've never been sponsored by Perrin. I do retail some of Perrin stuff on my website, but I'm going to use Perrin as an example because they are actually a great example and do some great sponsorship programs, and they run their ship very well. Let's say you want a Perrin product and you want a sponsored rate, you want to pay a discounted rate, or you want the product for free. What you're going to have to do is, if let's just say Perrin doesn't have a sponsorship program, a lot of these big companies do, you're going to have to reach out to them and explain how you provide value to them and how you are going to result in brand awareness or sales, right? And what you can do is you can position yourself in a couple of ways. And this is going to basically come down to where this video goes, is how to position yourself in a place to do that, to provide value to these companies, right? So the first one is easy. This is a very simple one, is you can win a bunch of competitions. Your car can be entered in most competitions relative to its space all across the United States and just have a lot of visual time in front of people. This could be auto shows, it could be specific manufacturer like a Subaru festival if you're driving a Subaru, whatever you drive. It could be something like that where their name is going to be on your car at a big stage, lots of people are covering it, news is going to be there. But the downside to this one, it is the easiest, but it just costs a lot of money because you have to have a show car. Now, not everyone can build a show car, and just a friendly reminder, if you have done a little bit to your car, it doesn't mean you're gonna get accepted to these shows. Most companies that sponsor people that have show cars wanna see your event list for the upcoming year and your plans for the future build and what you've done to the car and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of caveats to it. The second thing that you can do, and it's basically the only other thing that you can do, is you can have a social media following or some type of social or online platform in which you're going to showcase the part, the install, and provide some type of ROI for the marketing, which is the free part or the discounted part that the company is providing to you. Now, if you're sitting in a position like most people and say, I don't have a social media following, your first step is to put in the time and effort to start building a social media following. Free parts and free stuff isn't just free. You have to put in some effort. You can either put into effort and go out and work for the money to buy it, or you can put in the time and effort to grow a social media platform and get it that way. Now, honestly, for most of you guys, like 99% of the people watching this, your best ROI getting sponsored is just to go pick up more shifts or work an extra job to save the money and do it that way. If you think that you're going to have a lifelong desire to build cars in the long run for the next 20 or 30 years, that is where you can say to yourself, I'm going to create some social media or something like that. Because whether it's TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, you probably need to be on all three. You need to spend a significant amount of time. This is not 6 months, this is not a year, this is a couple years growing a following that's substantial enough to provide enough ROI to get the parts for free. Otherwise, you might get a discounted rate, but it's not going to be great. And that's the other thing. What's really important to understand is most people that talk about sponsored builds or sponsored parts or stuff like that, they're still paying for their part, but they're buying it at cost. Sometimes these companies, if you don't have millions of followers, sometimes they will send you parts specifically if they reach out to you and you're the right fit for what they're looking for. But more often than not, these sponsored programs, you're getting parts at cost. It's a pretty substantial discount, but it's not like you're not getting them for free. And most of the cars that you even see at shows, a lot of the parts that they have are just discounted parts, especially when you get to show cars and parts are more expensive. Now, hopefully that isn't hugely disappointing, but that's just how it works. So again, let's revise and let's look at this. If you wanted to start today, right, if you want some actionable items, I would say the two routes you can go is one, work more. It's going to be faster to make the money to buy the parts. I know that's a really disappointing thing to hear. But if you truly want to go the route of becoming an automotive creator, somebody that can get sponsored parts and have these types of relationships with these companies, it starts by producing content, and I would say the easiest place to start to find out if you like producing content is TikTok, because you can get a fair amount of following with not a lot of effort. It's easier to succeed on TikTok, but TikTok has a very low ROI for these companies, so most sponsored programs don't take into account TikTok following. They're looking for YouTube and Instagram, YouTube being the most powerful. A good rule of thumb when I'm doing it through my own company is for every one YouTube follower, and this is if you have kind of like 10,000 plus, to have the equivalent Instagram, you need to have 10 followers for every one. And for the equivalent TikTok, you need to have 500 for every one. So like if I'm gonna sponsor a part for somebody on TikTok, I won't work with somebody that's under 500,000 or 600,000 followers. Generally, that's my minimum threshold. With Instagram, it's usually about 100, 150K, just because there's not a lot of long-term engagement around parts. It's just the ROI for my company. And then for YouTube, I want to see 10,000 plus at a very get-go for a under $100 sponsored part. Anything more, and it's got to be a lot more substantial. To give you guys perspective in my own journey in social media and everything before I had my own company, most of the sponsored parts that I got were really inexpensive parts, and more often than not, I was paying a big chunk of the part, but then I was, part of their affiliate program or something else. I would have some type of other ROI, or I would, if it was a really inexpensive part, I would do it for free, but then I would create some content for them for their own website or something. There would be some trade-off, right? They're still making money off of me. They're almost employing me to make some type of marketing effort for them. So again, the best way to get a sponsored build is to provide some ROI. And I just want to remind you guys, because a very common comment that I get on the channel, very common reach out to my company JXR Performance is, I'll make a video and I'll post it on Facebook. It's just not good enough, right? And so that's one of the other things that I want to talk about in this video is you really have to understand the ROI, right? And when you propose it to, especially with a company that doesn't have a sponsorship program, which is going to have very clear requirements that are usually fairly strict and hard to meet, you have to provide ROI. Like, I'm going to convert this many sales based on this thing because I'm going to put a link and I've done this before. And a good way to test it is just through an Amazon link. If you really want to test the impact of your social media following, create yourself an affiliate link on Amazon, install a product, and you'll get the commissions for it. See how many commissions you convert off the content you make, and that's a good, you'll start understanding the metrics around these conversion rates. So hopefully you guys found this video interesting, and hopefully it helped you in your journey. I know that a lot of what I said is probably not what everyone wants to hear. Everyone thinks it's very easy to get sponsored parts. It's not, but it's not impossible. If you follow what I talked about in this channel, you're gonna get sponsored, 100%. You just have to put the effort in. And a lot of people choose not to go that route because it's easier just to work and make the money. And you see that with a lot of YouTube channels. It's almost like a split game. And I actually found myself in the middle where I was like, I'm just gonna start a company in the part space myself because I don't want to blow up, right? I don't want to make, at the time, I didn't want to make install content because the ROI for installing parts on the cars for my channel just didn't make sense. Now we're getting to the point where I'm gonna start converting more to install content. And I also didn't want to go to the part where I was building, I was putting $80,000 into a WRX to have a show car. Just neither interested me. So I got into the business side of things, which was way more work than either of those, but I was just genuinely interested in how all that worked. And I'm a mechanical engineer, so I got to design my own parts. But you got to go run one route, you got to put the effort in, and if you want to go that route and you want to do it all, there are other benefits to growing a social media platform or having a show car. Both have benefits. They take a lot of time and money. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next one.